Hello and very welcome to everyone. If you're joining on Facebook or YouTube, welcome to the regular Sunday talk and meditation of the Tibetan Buddhist Society of Canberra. If you don't know me, my name is Lama Choedak, and today because I'm in the middle of an intensive Tibetan language course, so I'm squeezing this in as only talk, not specific, no time for doing the meditation. But I would suggest that those of you who are already experienced meditators, you could do just that. You can do both. While listening to the talk, you can use it as an object of your meditation and mindfulness. Because one thing you can listen, another thing is if you're very mindful, you can process the teaching and talk a lot more more efficiently and more beneficially than otherwise. So having said that, I will just do a short prayer, which is very important prayer. It's just to tune up the startup engine of our our heartfelt yearning and purpose of these teachings is that so that we are able to have certain degree of sanity and sensibility in what we do with our time. Be that ordinary worldly tasks or any particular altruistic task or spiritual activities, whatever we do. It's important that we need to put our mind in the best gear in order to do that. So in Buddhism, we do the refuge prayer, which is to affirmation in the Buddha, the enlightened one. And who else can be more worthy than the enlightened one? And his valid teachings based on his experience and the living tradition, the Sangha, the community. This is not ordinary Sangha we are referring to, but the living teaching of the Buddha that has transformed and caused the awakening of many exalted Sanghas, the Arhats and Bodhisattvas. And so here, to show one's allegiance and loyalty and commitment to follow the Triple Gem, we do the refuge prayers, and then followed by prayer within that, a commitment to practice altruism, that knowing that every problem does stem from one's own selfishness. And so if one has a refuge in the Triple Gem, then one should take up the altruism as the cause of enlightenment. And so doing nothing for one's own selfish purposes. So commitment to practice altruism for the benefit of all sentient beings. If we are ever useful, it is only when we're doing things for others and for later and for greater good of others. Whenever we think that we are doing for ourselves, we are very crook and we're very disappointable. We quickly get upset, and you can see that how short-sighted brings very, very little fruit. Whereas a far-sighted purpose of the benefit of others, and later and the mind stream, which is therefore the altruism is very important. So one is therefore not only renewing the refuge, but also commitment to practice altruism. And if we do that, then we will gift it to practice loving kindness to all sentient beings, particularly very difficult people or difficult times. We know that I have to be thoughtful of what I should not respond or react or say. And then we practice loving kindness through tolerance and not reacting, not overreacting at all. Just take some comfort in being able to tolerate the hardships when it is most necessary, so that others do not get over agitated by our reaction, because it has more undesirable consequences. So that's real loving kindness. And then when you see sentient beings struggling and not able to be happy, you realize their suffering is not your problem. Their suffering is and can become cause of your own growth if you care to practice compassion. And then when you practice loving kindness, compassion with refuge, then you are relatively regularly very joyful, because your mind is not overtaken by sadness or anxiety and worry and fear and all kind of things going wrong, because all things will never stay the same. Nothing happens to your your grasping anyway. They're all cause of problems. So you shouldn't even develop anxiety. Things will not go well. They don't. So what has so therefore you have ability to practice compassion, and yourself is relatively able to accept or even most difficult situations joyfully. Of course, because you didn't react childishly. So that's very important. That's true cause of joy comes from that. And then you are able to deal with difficult people or situation a little rather equanimously. So this refuge and altruism and the four immeasurables are very, very important. I don't know what any Buddhist can do anything if they could not recollect all of these qualities together. So to encapsulate all of these messages I've just mentioned, I'm going to do the prayer now. O Yinda Buddha Dharma Sangha Ajere Pete Lajdame Bhavachu Ajevendala Ajare Padavadu Endabu Tadarama Sangha Ajere Pete Lajdame Bhavachu Ajevendala Ajare Padavadu Sanje Chodan Zoje Chonala Chanje Para Tadane Jazoje Dage Jenzo Yebezo Nanje Dala Penje Sanje Nubarajo Mehobi happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering, and the cause of suffering may they never part from the happiness that no suffering may they draw equanimity, free from her judgment and aversion to those near and far. May her bliss, happiness, and the cause of happiness, may they be free from suffering, and the cause of suffering may they never part from the happiness that no suffering may they draw equanimity, free from her judgment and aversion to those near and far. Samja damja dewa dan dewe ju dan dembara juji donga da donga ji ju dan dawara juji donga mebe dewa da me dawa juji nyeren ja da dan dawe danyang la nebara juji samja namja zamba dan loye jera jejawa jejo domo degba So, so the theme of these talks are Buddhist insights, the causes of sanity. Today I'm going to focus specifically on the concept of the why Buddha said that impermanence is best of all conception, all thoughts, and it is one of the four cornerstones or distinctive features of Buddha's teaching. Is one who is able to embrace the notion of impermanence, not because it is a philosophy that they have to adhere to by following Buddhism, but it is such a universal kind of reality that how everything is constantly changing. So when you're able to put your mind in that awareness that everything is impermanent and are always changing momentarily, and things do not remain even for a moment what we think our thing is or we are, this kind of wrong view, thinking the person or object or place or things are still same as 2 days ago or 4 days ago, let alone 5 years ago, is such a big fallacy. So that's why the best of all thoughts, best of all recognition is to know how all things are impermanent. And when you know that everything is impermanent, you can't have problem with things, because the things that with which you have problem are no longer the things that you think they are there. So even physically speaking, your own physical body is momentarily going through many changes. Not only is things changing, but some things are ceasing to exist, and other things are taking over. Whether it's a fitness, whether it's ability, whether it's an appetite, whether it's a skill, whether it's a talent, or whatever the case might be. So everything is constantly changing. The fact of the matter that why knowing impermanence is the best of all thought is because if you think things are all impermanent and you see things impermanent, you can't have object of attachment, or you can't have objects of aversion that is the same. So most people's cause of misery these days is post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a disorder to think that the past objects are today's object is a profound intellectual disability. To think the objects are same, your father is the same person, or the action of someone, what they did a few months ago, that has some severe consequences to you, others, is you thinking he's the same. He's the person or the object is not the same, nor is the effect is the same. Even the effect that you have, the effect that it had then is not the same, same identical effect to you. So therefore, it is a wrong view. Because people have this tendency to adhere to wrong view without knowing they are wrong view and thinking they are right view, they think it's the same person or same object or same incident or same effect, and therefore your own same opinion. And you keep holding this wrong opinion. The ability to drop that wrong opinion is what it means by best thought, that actually knows things are not the same. Even attachment is also caused by you think the object that you liked or loved is the same thing, so it should stay the same thing, and when you realize it is not, then you get disappointed. So your suffering comes from not because they have changed, but you have assumed they will remain the same. But instead, if you were able to see everything is impermanent, then you no longer have this same opinions, same perception, same awareness of the things as being same. So that means that being able to have the mindset that is able to see the changing, the transient nature of all things, being able to see the transient nature of things, and things themselves are not only transient, but they are no longer the same thing at all, and will not remain same thing much later from their own. Being able to do that doesn't give you anything to hold on to, either out of attachment or out of aversion. And therefore no room for ignorance to know, not to know this truth. Because of that, you can let go things, and even if you don't let go, it has already let go you. It has already left you. It's you who are just still stuck in the thinking that you are still in the past. So most people's sufferings are because they are in the past. And the fact of the matter that Buddha said that being able to know the impermanence is best thought is then you actually able to know that the thing and you and the events are no longer same. And being able to know that it's best thought, because then you don't have the same opinion or perception or view or idea about it. So that is why it's best thought, because it's like being able to have a fresh change, if you feel sweat and tired, and if you change the clothes, you feel fresh, even hygienically speaking. We are talking emotional and intellectual hygiene of being able to see the momentary changing, how the time doesn't stand still. So when we say, every single second the clock is ticking to finish that minute, and every minute that minute is ticking to finish that minute, and every hour when that is ticking, that hour becomes second hour, becomes third hour, third become fourth, and so on. So just like the time digitally measure indicates that time is never stagnant. Likewise, why should our thought, our perception of things ought to be as if they are same? So, being able to conceive that things are impermanent is best of all thoughts. So that means when you fail to think that things are remaining same, fail to see the impermanent of things, then you are having worst of all thoughts. Because worst of all thoughts are usually out of ignorance, out of desire, out of hatred, and so on. Why out of ignorance? The ignorance is the cause of suffering. Because you didn't know things impermanent as impermanent. And so you are ignorant of not just the object, but ignorance of their impermanence, Even the thing that you know conventionally what the object is merely imputed and convened by people. But best is for you to know that even that thing itself is impermanent. When you buy vegetable these days, it says it is good and best before 16th of January. That's yesterday, So if you still have food that is best before 16th, it's not good. So most people are eating expired thoughts, expired perceptions, expired opinions. And it was even invalid and incorrect then, let alone afterwards, So if we are so conscious about not eating food that has kind of expired, then we shouldn't be holding any opinions or perception that are completely outdated. They say outdated. Most of the things people suffer is because they are holding the wrong views that is long elapsed, causes a condition that it gave rise to is no longer there, and causes condition that maintains something is no longer there. Now every causes condition of transpiring of that into something else. So this momentary awareness of seeing impermanence of all things will make us to not to have this resentment to somebody, or to yourself, for that matter, or to particular incident that you thought had put you a great setback, or even some wonderful achievement that you achieved some years ago, and you wouldn't be so arrogant about it, because you see that is not best of all thought. That's the worst of all thought. So our clinging to things makes us not to have the best of all thoughts, that things are impermanent. We think we wanted to keep holding that position, as if people can't let go some positions, mainly because not they themselves are able to continue. Their attachment doesn't let them to part it willingly. When they cannot part things willingly, then and they are now suffering due to their attachment to it. They externalize as their cause of misery is stemmed from the things external. They don't realize their wrong view of grasping to things that are impermanent as permanent is the cause of all the suffering. So all the sufferings came from wrong view. Often we say, oh, suffering came from desire and hatred, and these are very sort of, I would say, kind of basic teachings. But if you go deeper, the suffering came from the wrong views. Suffering, if you develop desire and anger, or you engage in an activity that is under the sway of jealousy or anger, those are what we call action. The action is caused by affliction. Affliction's got what we call afflictive affliction and cognitive obscuration. The cognitive obscuration is not recognizing what is what, impermanent as not permanent, not impermanent. That is the cognitive obscuration. That's subtle. So therefore, ignorance of impermanence, impermanent of things. Now you look at the meteorological forecast and report. Everything's so impermanent. They talk about last 10 years to the weather changes. Has there been ever identical weather pattern? No, they're constantly changing, and they call climate change. As if this climate hasn't been changing so many years ago. It's only recently they changed. Of course, they are noticing much more changes now because they have a lot of forecasting devices and they study everything. So we have so many gifted scientists who know about the planet and the solar system and ecosystem and so on. So they're always telling about how things has not remained the same. They're always telling how things have not remained the same. And it shouldn't be surprised, because that has always been the norm of reality. So the things that have changed is not new. It is every moment things are not remaining same. Even to think your father is the same person, what he did 2 days ago, 2 years ago, that was too important for your family, or too shameful for you and your brother. All of these things are a wrong view. He's not the same person stagnantly remaining there. No, has causes a condition that made him to do what he did. He did that, what? Then he didn't do that yesterday, thereafter. And so why you lump the person, father, as with that particular thing? Because you haven't got the best thought that both object and subject and causes and condition are impermanent, are not identical. Because things are impermanent, being able to know things as impermanent as they are, and then you no longer subscribe to the wrong view, knowing the wrong view of that actually causes more problem. So one is therefore subtracting, withdrawing the wrong views, and then knowing everything is impermanent, and then you see someone within a fresh light, in a fresh start, and that is what I mean by best of all thought. They said those who are able to conceive and see things as impermanent as they are blessed by the Buddha. They said that those who are able to see things, all things as impermanent, will not develop to an object with attachment, because the object isn't there that is to be identically same to become attached to. So no has a chance of developing aversion or enmity to the object. Who want to develop enmity? Only if they have the right view. The enmity comes from the thinking that this is the same person who did me this 2 years ago, 5 years ago. When you have that thought, then you naturally create enemy by enmity. Enemy is created by one's enmity of lumping the person with his deeds that you think is all due to him. Even that is a wrong view, let alone him being today the same person what 2 years ago. So lots of people's resentment, guilt, anger, fear, sort of grief, sadness, and disappointment, and unable to respect each other. All this because caused by the cognitive obscuration of lumping something or someone with what they did as being the same and identical. So such person hasn't got the best of all thought, and he could not be blessed by Buddha, because the Buddha doesn't bless anybody by his holy hand. Buddha doesn't bless with any. Buddha only bless them with the right wisdom. Those who are able to conceive the best of all thought, that all things are impermanent, therefore it doesn't warrant me to develop this enmity, anger, or guilt, resentment to such and such, this is cause of suffering, then the person become blessed. Blessed means changed for the better, changed for the better, so he no longer subjected to the past suffering that was caused by his wrong view. Now the wrong view has been righted by one's own ability to know impermanent things are impermanent. So therefore, he's blessed by the Buddha. They said those who are able to conceive the impermanent as impermanent are blessed by the Buddha. Even if they see the Buddha, there's no great blessing by the Buddha that he can give either physically or spiritually, whatever. But those who are able to witness the impermanence of things are blessed, meaning they are themselves consciously transported to the level of consciousness that actually is lighted and brightened up by one's right view. Because being able to see impermanent things impermanent is the right view. What does the right view mean? It just actually allays and gets rid of the wrong view from which people suffer. People suffer from their wrong view, not under the hand of some other people's action, like this materialistic society always pointing finger as if my suffering is caused by him, my suffering is caused by him, my illness is caused by him coming 3 meters nearer than he should. All of that. We are suffering more anxiety before any contagious disease can make you suffer. So lots of people are suffering the wrong view, wrong view. Sure, we should take precaution from unhygienic things and contagious disease. Sure, yeah, whatever is containable we should contain. But most important thing we should contain is the right view. If we don't have the right view, then we suffer from as if our life is permanent, that it will live forever if there wasn't for the coronavirus type of thing. We are all destined to die with or without any virus. Don't you ever think that the virus is going to sort of rob your life, otherwise you have this permanent life. No. Of course, virus could be a condition that can cause more sooner death than before. So that is even more true that how impermanent things are. Yeah, through the virus we have discovered how fragile human life is, particularly those who have many medical conditions. So we know that. So what? So this teaching therefore highlights and validates how transient and impermanent all things are. And all things are. When you're able to do that, you do not develop fear. if you have this right view of impermanence, you do not develop this fear and anxiety and paranoia and very, very sort of being so too overly anxious that it doesn't happen to you. Not because you don't take care of the precautions, but you do not try to control things unnecessarily. When you have the wrong view, how can you control nothing? You're already harmed by wrong view more than anything else can touch you. Is the right view then empowers you to embrace whatever the case might be. In reality, you develop much greater immunity even from catching such diseases because of the right view. Yeah, if you have the right view, of course you will adhere to all conventional medical or whatever advices there are. But you will not get to develop this unnecessary anxiety. Why? Because you know that everything is going to change, whether it's this way or that way or whatever. So you do not try to have a very fixed outcome to your liking. There's no fixed outcome. There are three, there's fear of people, half a dozen people catching some virus. There's 3 people get killed in the same house without any control. So you can see how fragile and how volatile life is. So how can you contain that? We should, yeah. We should not put any 3 people in the same room thinking that they might kill each other, yeah. So it's become life cannot be lived if you think like that. But if you understand everything is impermanent, then you will have much more right view. Because of that, even if you do catch a disease, you will not try to lay blame on somebody else. Oh, it's because of him came near to me or things like that. So there are so many causes and conditions, and that there's no point in trying to contend that. So that's why if you have the right view of everything being impermanent, then you will actually embrace the impermanence of things. Not only that, but not only you can embrace the impermanence, but you are much more unattached to the material body or life or health, because how long can be health? How long can be youth? How long can be strength? And permanent job can be permanent. All permanent jobs are impermanent jobs. So how long is what we're talking about? When we talk about health report, it's all about sickness report. It's not about health report. So we are always wanting to grasp health, but there is no real truly existing health. It's impermanent health. It's impermanent health. It's called illness, it's called sickness, it's called old age, and all of that. So we need to when you can accept the old age, and when you accept the parting, and when you accept the losing things, that is the blessedness. Then you don't show anxiety over the inevitable. So this is something you can't do, nothing. You can only do the right view as long as you're able to cultivate the right view. It is the amazing thing about that is you don't have any tension. You can actually sleep well. You can actually live with a life that actually, as if you actually have a life. You get a life. Otherwise, you're losing your life every moment because of the fear and anxiety and attachment, aversion, and anxiety actually corrosively destroys your life and immune system even more so than any disease can cut you. So that's why quite a lot of people are more emotionally disturbed because of not having access to the right view. So right view of the knowing everything is impermanent, firstly makes you to take really, really good precaution, whatever physically and medically you can take care, but most importantly, emotionally. Emotionally, you then realize everything is transient, and when you're starting to lose grip on something, you just let go graciously, and there is no qualms, and there's no holding on to something when everything is slipping out of your hand, And that will be your power, or your influence, your position, your health, your relationship, your wealth, your fitness, your ability. All things will slip, not just health. Everything is slipping away So that person who has the right view do not mourn and groan as if what they're losing something. They don't even use the loss. They don't use the loss of the word disappointment. They don't use the word of being robbed or being defeated by things. They think these are just being able to let go is the great feat. If you don't have let going ability, then you are defeated by attachment. You don't have to lose to anybody. Your attachment already kind of destroys you from within. So that's why if a person is blessed by the Buddha, it's because they have a very good wisdom, comprehending the teaching of the law of impermanence. And then being able to, being able to vary your thoughts and opinions, perceptions, and let go those wrong views, wrong thoughts, and then change your views, opinions, and you don't even have enmity. When you have no enmity, it can be replaced by loving kindness and compassion and let go and non-attachment. You just have no attachment to anything that you have long wished to do or succeed. Even if you didn't achieve it, it's not a cause of resentment. Most people who have resentment is because they're attached to their own way of wanting things. When that doesn't get achieved, how long can you achieve? Even you achieve something, but how long is to stay the achievement? Even the greatest cities and empires have reached great height of prominence and importance, but how quickly they're all reduced to rubbles. So knowing that everything is impermanent really gives you the feat of non-attachment. Feat of non-attachment to health, to possessions, to position, to relationship is what they mean by the one who thinks of impermanence is blessed by Buddha. It is said that one who can think and embrace the impermanence is also prophesied by the Buddha. They say prophesied Buddha means Buddha has actually foretold that person who thinks of this will have no enmity, no anger, and therefore no suffering. Because the suffering is caused by wrong views. Buddha has prophesied those who adopt the right view will be liberated from the suffering and its causes. And you can see the person who actually have heeded to the Buddha actually do not create suffering. He doesn't have suffering to let go. He doesn't have suffering that he didn't create. You don't have suffering that people delivered to your doorstep, or you don't have suffering that other people did to you, if you only have the right view. You only have the suffering out of your wrong view. When you're holding on to something out of attachment and dualism, then it creates a suffering. So that's what I mean by that. When you think of impermanent, you are prophesied by the Buddha. Yeah, when we say Buddha prophesied, it means the Buddha said there is end to suffering. Yeah, Buddha said how to end suffering, and the person who has taken up this right view that everything is impermanent, actually has realized how to not suffer. How to not suffer. Yeah, the suffering itself is not permanent. Suffering is not permanent. Suffering does not truly exist. Suffering is not permanent. Suffering is just as transient, So therefore, there's no truly existing suffering, let alone one who creates it. So even the suffering is something that does not exist and does not have a permanence. So because there's no permanence of suffering, that right view therefore enables one person not to mourn and groan as you are still the victim of what happened 10 years ago. And all these amazing people in the modern world who has degrees and who has masters and who have 20 years of experience in running a corporate organization and so forth, they're so poor and so malnourished by lack of the right view. So they suffer from the wrong views. They may have a lot of skills and materialistic skills, but they don't have any kind of cognitive awareness of how to know things as being not the same. It's called illiterate. If you are eating a food out of a yogurt sort of jar that is 10 days old, and people will say illiterate, It's worse than that, Yogurt expired 10 days ago. If you eat it, if it doesn't make you sick, but most people get sick not from eating expired yogurt. Most people are getting sick by expired wrong views, bad views, wrong views, not realizing as wrong views. Their own opinion is one that is making them suffer, but they don't know how to part from it, but they're still nurturing it. They're still sort of becoming, sealing that with gold, plating it as if their right view is their view is correct, and try to prove that as a cause of some confirmation. So most people suffer, not because they have less money or less things, but because they don't have that right view. So that's why those who can conceive the impermanence of things have the best of all thoughts, and they have they are blessed by the Buddha, and they are prophesied by the Buddha. And as a result of that, such a person has a great capacity to benefit other beings. Then he or she will give the culture of the wisdom of the Buddha, what we call the Buddhist insight. Buddhist insight is not some kind of very, very esoteric. It's very, very common knowledge. It's a very ordinary knowledge. Most people, they think they study something. They don't want to look at ordinary. The impermanence is in the nature. You look in the garden. You look at the local landscape. You look at the street. You look at the local park, and the morning to the afternoon to the evening. You see the impermanence is a nature, constantly teaching, obvious teaching everywhere around. And not just in nature, but also in everything, whether it's local government or federal government or state government, who runs the country, who doesn't run the country, those who were so close and those was not even now talking, they have parted away. All those deputies who try to stab the back of the leader. All these things shows that the impermanence of things, and what people used to do, what people are no longer doing, what they used to do, all these things are evident. It's almost like constantly on your face how transient and changeable everything is. So it doesn't have to go to school to know of impermanence, doesn't have to change your religion to become impermanence. Impermanence is such a sane insight. And not just it's not a religious belief. You don't have to be initiated. You don't have to sort of cut your hair or change your dress or change your diet or anything like that. But change this fundamental wrong view that things are same or permanent. Biologically, your physical body, from the skin all the way down to the marrow's bones, they're constantly changing. Why you keep having every 6 months blood test? If you think your body is real and permanent, why you have to keep checking the blood? Means the blood pressure is changing. Why? Because it's not permanent. If it's so permanent, if you think you are the name, you think you are the height, they're always changing. You may have not bothered to change your name because there's only one fixed name. And even in Australia, there's a deed poll where you can change your name, by the way. So don't get stuck with the thinking that you are the name, or you are the body, or you are the possession, or you are the position, or you are the person who don't have the position. You don't have the position. How long can you hold the position? Not very long, Very, very quickly you lose. Very, very quickly you lose the position. If not in this position, you lose this position. So there is no fixed permanence stature. There is not, like time doesn't stand still. Like right now, the clock is ticking. There is never a moment that you are remaining same, biologically, emotionally, physically, financially, and whatever you have. So why should our perception dictate us thinking it's this who did this to me? Both that and this are both impermanent. They're both relative. It does no longer exist. When you go back to some places that you have been long time ago, you go back, you couldn't recognize the place. And there are hardly any people that you knew from that place is left. And there's all kinds of people that you never met before. They all have taken over that place. So like that, you're completely nobody. You realize you are a stranger to your homeland. You go to your hometown where you haven't been, then that tells you how many things that most people think you are nobody, because you're nobody to them. What you were is no longer relevant. They couldn't say, why were you? Who were you? And then you say, oh, maybe I've heard of your dad, but I've never met you. They say, oh, yeah, that's right. So constantly changes. That's what people and archaeologists are digging things that are thousands of years things. They are digging out things which we never thought existed. They never did exist. They exist, but they just became covered in the dust. How anything remain longer than one moment? Nothing does. So therefore, it's important not to have the fixed view or to the notion of I am. I am this, I'm not this, I fail this, I succeed this. All of these I am are wrong views. Wrong views, let alone what I did, let alone what he did to me. All these things are lumping as if he is the one who did something to me. And therefore you're fixing him as the one who's caused you a problem and you as a victim. These kind of wrong view perpetuate the samsara, the very, very suffering. So that's why when we talk about Buddhist insight, Buddha has 4 insights. And one of them is being able to remember impermanence. So when you meditate, like you are meditating now when you're listening to me, you should think that everything is impermanent. And remember that if you think of impermanence, that is the purpose of the meditation. Even purpose of meditation is so that you have some insight. People talk about insight. People are asked to watch the breath coming in and then going out, coming in, going out. They can see this monotonous coming and going of the breath. If the breath start to no longer able to inhale again, you finish. Simple as that. Your life comes to an abrupt end when no longer you can inhale. So right now, thankfully, there is this consistent reliability of the breath happening. And so the prana life force is continuing because that is happening. But there will be a moment that you wouldn't be able to take a breath ever again. And that's it. Your life is as fragile as that. That's why even the life as a body itself, when we say I'm 62 or I'm 63 or I'm 49, that's a lot of years. A lot of years have come and gone. And in which of the days, which of the months, which of the years are you, are you the day you got married, or are you the day you graduated from university, or are you the day that you blundered off something, or what are you talking about, We are never anything from any one moment. We hardly even this moment, let alone all the past. So therefore, momentarily from time point of view, let alone our perception of someone or something or yourself, they are all coated with the wrong view of thinking I am and that is that. We don't realize that itself ceases to exist. So if you go to the river, the water that is flowing under the bridge is not the same water. It's totally different water. We do not see it, but you can see the river is not staying still. It's moving. So that means the water that went down 5 days ago or even 2 hours ago is no longer there. It's way down. It's probably reached the ocean mouth. And tomorrow morning it will be evaporated. And then maybe on Sunday it will rain and things like that. So we constantly evaporating the steam of the ocean and becoming clouds, and clouds becoming rain in some highland, and then come down. So constantly everything's changing one to another. So your ice block in a fridge once upon a time was the steam, the vapor from the sea, and then that was to become cloud and went up into the mountains and hit there, and then fell a rain, and then came through your rain on the gutter, and then you collected rainwater from the downpipe, and then so it's like that. There is never a time that ice is ice and water is water and tea is tea. Everything is changing. Tea is only for a while when it's in the kettle, but once the tea goes in your mouth, what does it become? Think of that for tea. There's no chance for the tea to remain long for tea. No chance for the eyes to remain eyes. Why should we think that we are always sort of permanently fixed thing? And how feelings about him or her or ourselves or that, why should be always identical feeling? That is the wrong view. Because we have the wrong view and we don't know the wrong view, that's why we do not know how to adopt or recruit a best of all thoughts. And when we do know how to recruit best of all thoughts, you will see the lightheartedness. You can see the lack of attachment. You can see the lack of resentment and anger to things as you previously have towards yourself or your past or somebody or whatever. You now realize, gosh, I'm so uneducated, thinking that he did this to me. As he is permanent, I'm a permanent, and therefore he did this. And when everything is momentarily changing, there's no he that is temporarily existing. No, there's no me. Everything is just constantly changing. So to give a fixed name, that is the cause of suffering. So with this in mind, one needs to meditate. And reflect. Meditate means think and become familiarized about impermanence of things. Just think of the impermanence of your position in a particular job or your society or community or your family and such. How things have shifted and changed, not because of someone's intrinsic fault. How things change, and that is constantly nature of things. So we shouldn't be disappointed. Why do they do not allow more than 2 terms of president in the United States? Of course they know it's not good to have someone for a long time. Particularly he's the one about to destroy their own country, So they deliberately make sure that nobody runs some things for too long, so that it doesn't become sort of uncontested. So even political ideology has come to know that all the revolution, all the kind of labor movement that the world has witnessed is so that we do not have these dictators from like the father to son, the king to the prince and so on. That whole life they become the ruler. It's not healthy. So that's why they deliberately make sure that democratically elected president only can serve only 2 terms, not more than that. Why did they do that? Because of the fault of someone remaining too long in the same position. So it's being able to have a kind of a reshuffle of different people doing in order that to allow the things to change. Otherwise, things do not progress. So you can see even the modern revolution and all the labor movement and democratic movement are actually all rebelling the permanent, rebelling this whole lifetime rulership of the king or position. And they know that it is not healthy. You can see how many millions does some of the royal family waste each day where their own citizens have nowhere to sleep and nowhere to live. How much kind of inequality in the world is caused by this kind of permanent fixture of whole family having this can live above the law and do whatever they like. Why? Civilized democratic world has completely overthrown those governments. Why? Because they actually have got some idea of the importance of changing, importance of change. Change is very important. No matter how difficult things are, when you know how things are impermanent, you don't have to remain in the same, either in the mindset or in the perception or in the position or whatever social or economical, personal situation. You don't need to be in that very position for very long, because you have the best of all thought, how not to adhere and develop grasping to. So the Buddhist insights are very, very practical, very, 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 very friendly to those who subscribe to the Buddhist teachings. Those who are able to think everything is impermanent. It's not needing to believe in a God is not important in Buddhism. Needing to know everything is impermanent is as important, if not more important, than belief in a God. Believe in a God is just believe. Here you can't just have everything's impermanent. You have to see how everything, and make things impermanent. Change things in your own way, and that can be quite liberating. If anything rescues you, it rescues you because of you have right view. And the right view is how to change your view about your brother, about yourself, or your mother, or your work, or your colleague, or your friend, or whatever. You just change your view, and you just bring fresh air, and you no longer suffer this problem anymore. Why? Because you have learned to adopt best of all thoughts. In Tibetan, out of all kind of perception, the perception of everything knowing impermanence is excellent of all perception. The one who actually adopt that is blessed by the Buddha. One who knows that is actually prophesied by the Buddha. And how do you know? The person is very, very bright, very, very intelligible. He doesn't really whinge and make noise or hold resentment and bitterness. He doesn't do. Why? Because he knows. He knows how not to. He knows how to change his mind and objects and perception of whatever that it is. So this is the insight, Buddhist insight. So Buddhists meditate in order to procure this way of thinking. Whether they watch the breath, whether they watch the posture, or whether they watch the memory of something. Is the memory of something was fixated with the wrong view of the past, or your memory of something is you can remember something, but you no longer have the same view about him or them like that. How? Because he changed his view. He no longer have enmity, therefore he has no enemy. He has loving kindness towards the people who he developed enmity to. He feels so unfair to him and them and everyone because therefore he's fit to heal himself within that very seat. And before he get up, he's already changed person. So with this, we will wrap up here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in this talk today, that how the Buddhist insight become causes of real sanity, that is knowing all about best of all thought is knowing the transient nature of all animate and inanimate, between matter and consciousness things are. Being able to do that can bring a fresh breath of air and no longer stuck in the stale fear, anxiety, attachment, and all of that. So you can actually sort of farewell all of those bad thoughts and causes of the wrong views. And with this, we will conclude here. Thank you, everybody. I will do the short dedication of merits. Zona de damje zebanye tomne nyebe dana bamjene kega na je bala drubaye zebe zole dowa ndowara jo tejo damje renje jendele dage zona mandaye gando ba dene ndogo tejo dambe renje drema mebe ne jura jamba bawa jedran jamba da kundu zamba de ya de jendo de da gunje jezo da loje gewan de da dan jera do ngo janju zumjo rinpoche ma je ba na man je jura je ba nyamba me ba ye gone gonde be wara jo. Thank you, everyone.